Good evening, everybody, and a happy Monday to you, and welcome to week number 9 of EDU6200. You all have survived the midterm exam. I finished grading them a little while ago, and you'll find your scores in the portal. So we're moving on to the second half of the course now, starting in week 9, and a lot's going to be going on in the next couple of weeks. So I want to first start out with a kind of like overview of where we're going to go the next couple of weeks, and I want to talk about what's happening this week and next in particular. So first of all, week number 9, you have three major things you're going to work on this week in week number 9. Week number 9 includes, first of all, reading chapter 7 if you didn't do so already last week, and reading through the first 5-6 chapters of the Florida statutes. Now, my advice on this second piece is don't read it the same way you read our textbook, or you will probably not want to read anything again in this course or anywhere else. It could be that boring. But you are reading for an overview of information, and I'm going to go over a little bit of it later on in this video, but I want you to be aware of what that is for, to give you familiarity with the Florida statutes and the laws that govern schools. And so we only focus on those ones specific to schools and not the entire huge Florida statutes. You have a book you probably purchased for this. You can also find them online, but that's important information for you. Number 2, oh, and I forgot discussion forum for that as well, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Number 2, week number 9 is WCG number 5, the Professional Development Research Assignment. That is due a week from today on October 22nd. And then we also have the online discussion, video discussion, and that's going to be either on October 16th, tomorrow night, or on October 21st, which is Sunday. I will post the times in the email. I will also post the week 9 discussion online video discussion topics as well, so you can be prepared for that. So first, I want to talk about WCG number 5, and I've given you guys in the last couple of videos a lot of information about this assignment and upcoming assignments, and I want to remind you that the next several assignments in WCG all relate to each other. So you guys had number 3 due before the exam. In another week or so, you've got number 4 due, which is related to number 3. This week you'll work on number 5, which is closely related to number 6. So in this one, you're going to work with your administrator to look at 2 things. Number 1, school needs. Number 2, how effective school leaders develop professional development. You'll find information about this on pages 7 and 8 in your syllabus. And you'll also find information, sorry, I hit the wrong button there, guys. You'll also find information on the actual rubric, and the rubrics are all on the right hand side of your main screen. And down this rubric is very clear. It talks about identifying 5 needs. That's 5 needs for your school in the area of professional development, things that your teachers would need training on. And if you're going to do this as a list, you want to give me some background information to each one of those. You can also do it as a PowerPoint. Number 2, research 5 effective ways to provide professional development and talk about them. So you're going to have probably like 10 slides or a really big long list, whatever works for you. In the past, I've gotten it both ways. What's important is you give me your list, but you also explain each of them. And that's to make sure you get full credit on the rubric. And again, it's however you decide to present this is entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong way for this piece. So that really is the assignment for this week. Don't forget that coming up in a couple of weeks here is going to be some other WCG assignments, and I mentioned I would bring this up to you. So number 5 is due this week, and that's the one on professional development research. Next week, number 4 is due. That is the compliance action plan presentation, where you're applying what you did in number 3. Very clearly, just make sure you follow the rubric on that. In week 11, we've got number 7, school and community research. And then in week 12, you've got your presentation of the one you're doing this week. So I want you to be thinking ahead to work with your administration to make sure you get to that point. That's those big assignments coming up. Those are things I want you to be thinking about. I do want to take a moment now and talk about this week's content. And the group that's doing it has done a really good job of getting things together for you, and it's ready for you right now. But what I want you to realize that you're doing is in Chapter 7, we're looking about students' disabilities. This is a big thing. How many of you work with students' disabilities? That should be everybody. Because no matter whether you're teaching them directly or not, we're all working with students' disabilities and trying to provide support for them. There are 3 really big things that come into play. Section 504, the Disabilities Act, but most importantly, IDEA. And if you are not familiar with IDEA, that is an important part of this particular course. In talking about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, ironically, this act did not start out as a means to help students that have any kind of intelligence pieces, anything related to mental handicaps and things like that. It was designed for kids who were physically handicapped and couldn't get in the classroom. That's really what it came out of, is that we had kids who were in a wheelchair or physically disabled in some way and couldn't get into a classroom. And then it got applied to everything else, including mental disabilities and things like that. So it's really neat when you look at IDEA and its history. There's a couple really important terms you want to become familiar with. The first one is IEP. Everybody knows that one, I think, pretty much, about an individualized education plan. But the two people really don't know much about are FAPE and LRE. FAPE is a free and appropriate public education. It is written into IDEA that every child deserves a free and appropriate public education. Period. But the second one that's really related to this is the LRE, the least restrictive environment. And this one is huge because it says that we will put a child in an environment with the least amount of restrictions based on their needs. This is why in your counties, I know in Hillsborough we have this, we have some centers, ESE centers for kids who are really severely disabled. And then we have kids who are more mainstreamed into a regular school environment. And that's a big piece as well. You'll also find something we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the idea of public money going into private sector. This is one of those few areas under the McKay Scholarship where kids with disabilities can get a scholarship, a voucher if you'd call it, to a private school where their needs can better be met than what they're getting right now. You may also have charter schools that target specific disabled children. For example, we have the Pepin Academies here in Hillsborough County through the Pepin Distributing Group is who sponsored it, but they specifically focus in on kids with both severe mental and physical disabilities, and that's the big piece of their school. The other thing you want to look at too, and very important for you guys as becoming administrators, there are limitations on suspensions and expulsions. We've heard that. There's a reason behind it, and that's all in the chapter for this week. The other thing I want to bring your attention to is just those first several chapters in the Florida statutes that you're going to be looking at. You're looking specifically at the K-20 Education Code, chapters 1000 through 1013, and this week you're only looking at 1000 and 1005. This one talks about a couple things that are really important to understand. We've already talked about them a little bit, but now it's important to look at where they come from. For example, in chapter 1001, you look at K-20 governance and how we govern schools. You look at the purpose of a school district and how it is set up as a county, and that's an important piece. In chapter 1002, you look at pieces about choice. You look at pieces about home education and how that works. The whole VPK program and school readiness are written in there. Chapter 1003 is the K-12 Education Code. It's all about provisions, attendance, various things, specialized instruction, high-performing school districts, and all those things are in there. 1004 is about post-secondary, and even though that's not something that we do, it's really important to look at that. And 1005 the same way is non-public post-secondary. But you may at one point be involved in recruiting teachers, looking at things that teachers need to go through as far as education programs. And those are all in the Florida statute. Just some good information to look at and be familiar with. I'm going to tell you that, again, don't read too deeply into it. I remember doing this class for the first time a couple of years ago, and one of my students texted me and said, "Are you crazy? There's no way I'm reading all that stuff." No, you don't have to read all of it in detail, but look at the pieces that are going to help you. I think one of you mentioned it in one of your discussion posts a couple of weeks ago that this information is something you can use right now as a classroom teacher. You can use it as an administrator. You can use it as an educator to really find the things that are going to help you be successful as an educator, to really stay within the law, stay within the code of ethics, and provide an appropriate education for all of our students. So again, this week you've got the three things. You've got the Week 9 discussion forum based on Chapter 7 and also the K-20 code, chapters 1000 through 1005. You've got WCG number 5, which is the professional development research assignment. And then you've got the discussions, the online video discussions, one tomorrow night, one on Sunday. You pick. And again, about 10 minutes before, I'll send an email out with the link. I look forward to seeing you guys online. Have a great week.